Welcome to this week's Whole Wheat Costa. Tonight we have our beer table. The beer was actually given to us by my roommate because he's not a big drinker, so he bought a whole 6-pack for the Eagles game, but then he fell asleep in the first 10 minutes of the Eagles game. We have Samuel Adams Winter Lager, which is the first Samuel Adams I've ever liked.
I think as long as I've ever not talked on the podcast. I was getting real antsy there. So this is our first gift beer. So I don't know if it's going to have a different tenor to the show.
We should always, we're always accepting more gift beers.
Yeah. So for many listeners, you can always send beer to the studio.
Well, after
Just-
like 10 episodes, we have 48 downloads.
Yes. So like
Not like average, just overall.
so like four downloads per episode, just about. So like me, you, my dad, and like one other person
Yeah.
per episode.
Yeah. Real quick before you go into your facts, I
Mhm.
want to give a Sam Adams fact.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Adams is tied for first for largest American-owned brewery,
Who's it tied with?
Yingling.
Okay.
Because the Budweiser and the Miller and the Coors, they're owned by other conglomerates, not in America.
So since Yingling is like local here, and Sam Adams is from Boston, right?
Right.
Are we like traders drinking the Sam Adams stuff?
No, I believe they're both local.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're not local. I mean, have you ever been to Yingling? It's like a 3-hour drive, so it's not that local.
Pennsylvania is a big ass state.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quicker to. I think we might have said this in last week's podcast. It's
Right.
quicker to get to Canada than to get out of Pennsylvania going west.
Right. So I mean, it's also, but New Jersey,
Mhm.
45 minutes in any direction, you're out of the state.
Yeah, it's just a
Well,
little. It's just a
from
little
where
guy.
from where I am.
So Sam Adams Winter Lager specifically, because I think everyone knows like Sam Adams in general. German brewers were onto something centuries ago when they created rich Bock beers for the winter. Our version is spiced with cinnamon, ginger, and orange peel for a deep flavor and malty finish that will warm you on a cold winter night. Sam Adams Winter Lager. Some suggested food pairings: baked brie, Brussels sprouts, and bacon. For the tapas. For the entrees, roast duck or turkey, Thai food, beef stew. I can see a little beef stew. I'd be down with that.
Right. No, this would go delicious with beef stew.
And then for desserts, carrot cake, gingerbread, or apple pie. I never really think of a dessert beer, but I think this would go well with apple pie,
Right.
actually.
It's not. It's not that. It's not very wintry. I've had wintry, but
Yeah,
beers more.
It's not like wintry as fuck. It's not like
Right.
the WAF sort of beers. But this is another one that has a range of alcohol, 5.6 to 4.4. Average by volume, average by weight. That's okay.
Well, I
Yeah.
just got into a beer alcohol argument with Casey, my
Mhm.
brother's friend Casey, who, when he comes over, he just crashes on the couch for 2 days. But he's like harmless. But anyway,
So he's like the Brittany of like your friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He just shows up. He's like, I'll waste it. And then he gets a ride here. And then he waits 2 days. And then he gets a ride somewhere else. He doesn't shower or anything. He doesn't change his clothes. But he is the funniest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, who's he trying to impress here?
Yeah. But we got into an argument because when I got back from Colorado, I was like, wow, you get hammered real quick in Colorado. And he's like, the beer there has lower alcohol. And I was like, no, that's just grocery store beer because the grocery store beer is like 3%.
Really?
Well, the regular bar beer is, your average like 4 to like 9%.
Yeah.
Like they have different beer depending on where you're buying the beer,
Mhm.
which seems like a lot of work on the brewer's part.
Yeah.
But laws are laws. And then in Colorado, like weed's legal, so I guess like laws are laws, except for the federal law that the entire state's breaking. But whatever.
So we probably had to pay more for beer because of these laws of like selling them in different places and the different quantities. It probably costs the brewing companies more to make them.
Right, but we only have one quantity here in Jersey.
Hmm.
I believe
Yeah.
because I've bought beers at like ShopRite and liquor stores, and they're the same beers. So
Yeah, I don't know. Living in Pennsylvania, the supermarket beer thing freaks me out because like we only had beer in beer stores until pretty recently.
right, yeah, up until about I'd say 5 years ago, beers in a grocery store in Jersey was unheard of. And then
Huh.
they opened a ShopRite like 15 minutes from here,
Yeah.
and they had like a massive liquor store in the middle of the ShopRite. And then
So weird.
Wegmans like shut down like part of their I guess like warehouse and built a liquor store in there.
Hmm.
And then the Cherry Hill Wegmans built a whole separate building in part of their parking lot to
Really?
build a liquor store when it became legal.
So they just built a Wegmans beer distributor essentially.
Yep, yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Up in North Jersey somewhere, they have a ShopRite that's just the liquor store, and then the ShopRite is across the highway. So it's
Oh.
a ShopRite liquor store.
That's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about that. My cough's mostly resolving. That was like pretty bad last week.
Right.
I ended up getting off. I thought I was working all weekend, but I only ended up working Saturday. So then yesterday, I pretty much just like stayed high on cough medicine all day and didn't really cough. And I think it let everything heal a little bit. It's getting better, just because you guys are probably concerned.
So I wanted to talk about, and it kind of goes into what you were talking about.
Mhm.
I kind of mentioned it off mic, but I was explaining to a friend of mine, I'm not very active. I don't do like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA, and I wasn't even a huge fan of it. But I started listening to podcasts like 2 or 3 years ago, and then these podcast guys, they would have
Are we trying to this MMA girl on again? Is that where we're
No,
back
no,
to?
no,
Or the
different-
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu girl or whatever?
no, different thing. I
Okay.
was just part of my life, just podcast talk.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
just
was-
podcast stuff.
yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So I was explaining to a friend of mine, like she goes like, why do you care about UFC? Like, what's the big deal? Like, why, like, how did you get into, learning all like the moves and getting into like exercising and all this other
That
stuff?
sounds like a nicer way to ask it than how you originally said it. Why do you even care about that shit?
Yeah,
Fuck that shit.
yeah.
What a bitch.
So, no, I didn't say those words whatsoever.
That's kind of the way you said it.
Yeah. So I actually thought about it for like a little while,
Mhm.
and I came up with it so I started listening to like one podcast, and then he had like a guest on, and like I started listening to his podcast, and he was like super positive, and like then I listened to like another guest, and like they have like the way that it helps me think about situations. Like I listened like the Vegas Shooter a couple months ago or a month ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they all talk, like all these different guys I listen to, they all talk about it, and it helps me think about like motives and like why people do and like America in general. Like it gives me all these like thought perspectives,
Mm.
but it just happens to go like 5 out of the 7 people I listen to are either in like the UFC or the MMA, or they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or they're like a trainer, or they do kettlebells, and then like you talk, it's kind of like what you do with your extra credits.
Mhm.
It becomes like a community, and then you
Yeah.
go on forums, you talk to other fans, and then a guy at work like listens to some of the same stuff, and you talk about them, and you go to like a comedy show, or you go to like meetups, or like a match or whatever, and it becomes like this community between these things that you do, and then so you know what you're talking about. You start working out, like you start doing kettlebell workouts, and then they're talking about some sort of workout, and then you're like, oh well, what's a Turkish get up, and then you look at the Turkish get up, and then you try to do the Turkish get up, you're like, oh, the fucking Turkish get up is hard as shit, and then you keep going on and on, and she goes, you just explained to me like the last 2 years of your life, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I listened to it. And I was like, I never really thought about why I have, but I haven't thought in depth why I keep listening to these guys, and like, you follow them and you learn more about them, and it's like they're your friends.
Yeah. And then you hit her with the Turkish get up.
Yeah, yeah. Which is what happened to me. I was listening to it, and I'm like, yo, have you ever done Turkish get ups? And I'm thinking, I was like, what's that? And I have to YouTube it, and now like I practice doing those, and like I feel good about it. And you listen to other people from around the country, and like all their love, loss, happy, so it becomes like a kind of part of your life.
Yeah. No, the community thing is definitely pretty awesome. I don't know. Like it's good. It makes you feel good. I think it's like a little sad too, though, because I do the same thing. Because I mean, essentially, it's like you know, it's almost like these people that idolize celebrities and stuff. Like you feel like you have this relationship with people that like you don't really know at all. Which is sort of where I'm at because, you know, I'm sure I think early podcasts I talked about it, but you know, I mean, I used to have, so I'm pretty anti friends at this point. I think friends are useless for the most part. I kind of think they
should I leave? Or?
well, I think there's rare exceptions, but I think I think most people that come into your life, like, you know, it's a mutually beneficial thing, and then once that's over, then they're gone. I think there's like very few people that like stay in your life long term. So now I think I'm like really defensive about friends now. Now for me, you know, it's because you know, when I went through the harder times of my life, like, I mean, most people weren't there for me. Most people I thought were friends, like, weren't there. So that's how I kind of assume most people will be now.
Oh, so just me.
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially JD and Kelly. Like even my family, like at a certain point,
and like Carmen when he was around.
Yeah. So I'm not real like I you know, I used to have a more positive outlook, but I'm not real into being able to rely on other people or like.
So you don't have
other people.
You don't have a friendship outlook, positive outlook. But
No.
what about life?
Life, yeah.
Okay, good. Like
but,
this just turned into like Dr. Phil show for a second.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think, but I just am very focused on. I think I might have. I think I talked about it recently too. About, or I don't know if we talked about it off air, but I'm very about, you know, like the people in like my four walls, you know, and then there's like everyone else is like so far below. Like I wouldn't save a stranger's life if it meant minorly inconveniencing.
Right. Yeah.
Someone
We
in my
talked
immediate
about that
family.
last.
Yeah.
We talked about that last.
So, I mean, I just think because I just think if it were the other way, like no one would do it for me. But you know, and so it stings. Sort of the offshoot of that is like, you know, like I'll meet somebody that I do like or find interesting, and I just have a very low tolerance for, you know, I essentially don't want to feel stupid. Like, last year that I was like, you know, so got sort of friendly with, and honestly, my issue is like I'm in the car a lot, and sometimes I just want to talk to somebody on the phone. And like essentially, I mean, so like I'll like drop Sam off at his mom's house. I'll call Kelly, like tell her how, like, you know, or like our night went or whatever, like while I'm driving home. I mean, I'm going to see her in like an hour anyway, but yeah, you just call her and talk a little bit. and then like sometimes I'll call JD if it's like something I really want to tell somebody. Sometimes I call like my mom. And that's about it. Like I call my sister probably like once a month if something really interesting happens. She hasn't answered in months. I literally have nobody else. Like, so there's like one person from work I like would talk to on the phone every once in a while. And then like one time I called her and then she didn't answer. The next day she was like, "Oh, I was doing this thing. I'm really sorry." And then maybe like a week or two later I called her again and then like she didn't answer and it was like a no call, no show. She didn't say anything about it. I never called her again. Like I just have a super low. I mean, maybe she was busy, but I just have a super low tolerance. I just don't want to feel stupid. Like I'm like spending time on somebody that like doesn't, you know, is like not interested or whatever.
You kind of mentioned your sister, and like I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, I know she's your sister, and everybody has their things, but I really like from what I hear about from your sister, she's like all about family and everything. But sometimes I feel the way you talk about it, like, you know, just to me or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, you try harder.
I mean, I don't think that I mean at this. So I think neither of us are very good ever at trying.
Right.
I do think I try a little bit now, and I really get like nothing back.
Right.
I mean, it's not like I don't know, like I mean, I don't know, I haven't gone over her house in like a few months. But I mean, she hasn't come over to my house in like a few years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
she like for my birthday last year, I think she was around. But
well, like I said, I only get one side of it, but I kind of feel like, you know, you try.
Yeah.
Harder.
No, it hurts my feelings that like I don't know. I mean, Sam is her only nephew, and I feel like she didn't come to his birthday party last year. Like,
Is she gonna come to this one?
I don't know. I mean, we invited her, but
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like he should be really important to her. Like, I mean, I don't even really, you know, I honestly don't really care for me anymore. Like, it does hurt my feelings. We used to be really close, and I feel like we're not at all anymore. But then for something like that, like, I mean, I don't know. That's like there was like she doesn't live that far now from Sam's house, and like I said to her something like, "Oh yeah, I'm out here on Tuesdays. Like, we'll come over. It'll be awesome." She's like, "That's like my gym day." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry you can't make time for your nephew. That's cool." I don't know. You couldn't change her gym day, certainly.
Or
And I know she's busy, but
go at a
like,
different time.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be there like an hour. I don't know.
Speaking of Sam's birthday, I
Mhm.
was sitting when Kelly sent out like the Facebook Messenger invitation to like
Yeah.
a million and a half people. So we got it. My brother's like, I'm in a group text. And he was like real mad about it. He's like, I don't know any of these people. He had no idea what was going on. It's
Yeah.
like November 11th. And the first thing he texts, he didn't read the text whatsoever. He's like, sorry, I'm working.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have the kids that weekend. And he's like, how do you know? And I was like, for the last like 2 years,
Yeah.
you and Kevin have your kids at the same time. He's like, well, what if I'm working? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, maybe I'll make it. Then he texts like, maybe I'll make it. Like all these people that you guys are friends and family with that you've known for years. Like my brother and I are like the first one, and for like hours are the only ones that like responded. Like,
Yeah.
we'll be there, whatever.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know. That makes Kelly mad too about them. I mean, like when we tried to have that we tried to have the Descendants party when Descendants 2 came out because the kids really loved Descendants, the first Descendants,
Right.
and she like sent a thing to all of her friends, and, like nobody responded, and then she was like, well, fuck it, we're not having the party. Like I'm not gonna like do all this stuff, and then nobody shows up.
I was super disappointed. She's like, no, we're still having it. Just we're canceling the party. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, good. We're still gonna have food, right?
And then like most of them showed up anyway, but it was so annoying because like we wanted to do all this stuff, and then we didn't do it because no one like could take the 2 seconds to respond.
Right.
And then I don't know, and it's like, and it's like almost one of those where like you want to message everybody, be like, "Oh, I see you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Why don't you respond to my message?"
It's sort of like it got to the point where they were probably like, let's see if we find something better first.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. I don't know. I don't. That's what I mean. Like I'm not. I don't have time for people. Like, and it sucks because like some of the time, like I said, like when I'm driving home and like I want to something funny happen that I want to tell somebody. Like it's like a little lonely, but I don't know. I don't know. I just can't see myself putting a lot of effort at this point because I see what you get back usually.
right. That's
So-
why like I like my little podcast communities, like
Mhm.
like Facebook groups and everything. It's like these people, the podcasters who you mentioned celebrity, like they're only celebrities to like whoever listens to
Yeah.
it. Like most of them aren't like real big celebrities or whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah, at all, or like comedians, or just like wrestlers, or just whatever coaches, and like you get these little communities, and like you listen to their podcasts, and like they don't communicate back with you, but they don't ever let you down.
Yeah.
Like you've built this relationship where it's one sided, like you enjoy it, like you would what's it called, the YouTube channel that you watch, like
Extra
you
Credits?
mentioned. Extra Credits, like
Yeah.
it's one way, but they're not gonna let you down.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's where I was sort of going with it is that like so like when I started listening to Preston Jacobs and like a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff, I mean essentially for me that was because these like fake friends I used to have, we would like we talk about Game of Thrones a lot and stuff, so like now like my only outlet is to like listen to somebody else talk about it and like that's like essentially like my like that's like my friend, like this person that I don't know. Like that's all. It's like the only sort of interaction I have about it.
Friends come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. But
I don't think at this point there's anything wrong with it because I really feel like that's where the dynamic of the world's going.
yeah.
Because with the way everything's going, like the world's becoming smaller.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have face-to-face interactions anymore. I know a bunch of people that have never met their friends and like they're like best friends with them.
Yeah. But I mean like the thing we're talking about though just feels like really isolating because like I don't know, like you're part of this stuff and like I feel like I talk about Preston Jacobs like I know him.
Right.
But I don't know, like it's just it's a guy I watch on YouTube. I don't know. Same with like the Extra Credits folks and stuff. At least So Am City Comedy did a really awesome thing that was really community related the last couple of weeks. I feel like I must have brought it up last week, but
Wait, what did it?
Wham City Comedy
Wham City Comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mumbled your way through that.
Yeah. So Alan Resnick and Robbie Ratcliffe and like that group, that did like unedited footage of a bear and like this house has people in it and Alan Tutorial I think is like one that more people know. That was on YouTube. The other ones were on like Adult Swim. But but they did this thing the last 2 weeks. They did a live soap opera on AdultSwim.com. So it was a live Troll Day soap opera in 8 parts. And Troll Day was like this holiday they made up for the thing. So Troll Day was officially last Thursday, because the shows aired Monday to Thursday, and they aired like 11 p.m. on AdultSwim.com, which apparently AdultSwim.com live stream shows all day. And they're like these like weird shows that are like kind of cool. I had no idea until I watched this Wham City stuff. But what was cool is so if you watch on your phone, you sort of lost some of this, but if you watch on a computer, you had the screen, and then you had like the Adult Swim chat community who were like all on there and excited for like the Wham City stuff. Like it's like about 1,000 people every night that it looked like were on. And then there was a number to call in too, so you could call in and interact with the cast on the show. So it was like improv stuff too. But it was just cool because it really became this community. Like people watched every night. There were a few like sort of celebrities in the community, like, you know, quote unquote celebrities, like the Nick Nocturne, the Nightmind guy from YouTube. So he does like analysis of like YouTube horror stuff essentially. And since Wham City Comedy does like essentially off-putting comedy mixed with Lovecraftian horror, he's like covered a lot of their stuff. So it was really cool because then he would say something in chat and everybody would be like, oh, it's Nick Nocturne, this is awesome. People would be asking him questions during the chat. You know, it's like this cool little community. And then, you know, and it went on for 8 nights. And then they had this like talk show afterwards. It was like talking about it. And then on the final night, it was funny because then like once it turned over to midnight, then everyone's like, oh, happy Troll Day, everybody. And I don't know, saying all these like inside jokes now that have been built up over the last 8 days. And then the show ended, and it was like 15 minutes of silence at the end of the show. And like everyone just commented like, oh, I'm so tired. Like I'm going to be happy to go to sleep tomorrow. Like basically like we've all been up for like 2 weeks now, like watching the show till like the wee hours of the morning. And then what I thought was the coolest community thing was, the last show ended and the last show ran really long. So they didn't do the talk show afterwards. So then I happened to look at my phone. My phone popped up that Nightmind was live. So Nick Nocturne, who watched all the shows, who like we all like idolized, like that when they were in the chat because he's like the analysis guy for all this stuff. He since the community didn't get their after show, he hosted the after show on his channel, just like spur of the moment. And like he had never done a live show before, so like the first 5 minutes was him like figuring out like how to do a live show. Like he's talking to the audience like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't do live shows. I don't even know how this works. I don't know how like my microphone works. I don't know what I'm doing. And then he hosted like an hour show of like talking about the show, just impromptu, and like we're talking to people, their comments and chat and stuff. And there's this really cool like last wrap up thing for like for the whole community thing. So,
right. See, that's what I was talking about. Like this little micro community that you're part of, and it's something you could share with people like in real life. And it's terrible because some people are like, "Shut up," but like I'm enjoying it. Like no one can see me. But like I'm smiling because like it sounds awesome because like so I'm like, fuck, I missed out on this.
Yeah. I mean it's kind of a shame because this one's weird enough. Like I feel like the MMA and stuff, you can at least people know what it is. But to explain like, oh yeah, no, it's Wham City Comedy. They're like dark shadows humor mixed with Lovecraftian horror. Like no, it's like totally a normal thing. Like don't worry about it, just watch it. But which sort of brings me to, I was thinking the other day because so Extra Credits is doing an extra sci-fi series now where they're talking about like sci-fi authors. And the first one they cover and the first one they're covering is Frankenstein because they're basically their premise is that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is like the initial bedrock of sci-fi. Like it established all these tropes later on. So then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, shit, I have to read all this stuff. I have to read Frankenstein for extra sci-fi.
It's like a pretty good book.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So,
yeah.
but I'm like, okay, I have to read that. I have to read all this Lovecraft shit so I can understand Wham City.
Oh, I want to talk about Lovecraft real quick.
Okay.
After this, yeah.
and I have to read the Thousand Worlds books so I can listen to Preston Jacobs, because Preston Jacobs is been doing a thing for a couple of years where he's doing an in-depth analysis of all of George R. R. Martin's sci-fi books. So it's like the Thousand Worlds series. So it's called the Thousand World Book Club, and I read like the very first one, and then I haven't followed up since then. But yeah, so I have to pick what I'm reading next, basically. And I never read. I'm a terrible reader, so it's gonna be like a real chore.
So, Lovecraft, right? So, Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, or however you pronounce it. Everybody always talked about it, and I don't think a lot of people have ever read it.
So so I got like an hour long. It's only like an hour and a half long, like an audio version of it that I'm like listening. I listened halfway through now.
So I finally read it.
Yeah.
Right. Last week or the week before, and I was listening to an analysis of the story and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get everything I can about that, and it's like the way it's written about it's crazy, and I'm like, I could never write. I'll never I love writing short stories. I'll never write that well. Like how he explains it's so big and so such a crazy looking monster. It's so that your brain, the guy goes crazy because your brain can't understand it. Like this doesn't exist, and I was like, what? I was and that's like a trope in a lot of sci-fi right now. It's something so crazy. Your brain can't.
Yeah. Well, that's like the cosmic horror. It's like that's the difference between Eastern and Western horror. At least, I mean, I'm getting this mostly from extra credits because they did some horror episodes. But essentially the idea that like Western horror is more that you overcome the monster. So the point of the horror is that you go sort of leaving feeling good because no matter what crazy stuff's out there, you as an individual can overcome it. And then Eastern horror is more like the protagonist loses in the end, because the idea is that there's just things out there that are so all powerful that you just have to hope they don't notice you. Like there's nothing you can do about it.
Right, and that's Cthulhu.
Yeah,
it's not. I think people have made Cthulhu more than it was written, and I think it's such a basic thing. The basic story is your mind cannot understand this.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary. You can't get a grasp around it, and I think it's, to me, just my personal opinion, that's such a basic part of life. When people don't understand it, they try to avoid it, but it's still behind them.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to understand the problem, you just ignore it, and you can't ignore it because the monster's still there. Whatever's bothering you is still there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. So that's what. So if anyone's interested in Cthulhu, Wham City Comedy, anything that Robbie Ratcliffe has done, because he's appears to be the Cthulhu guy. The one cool. So I mean, this is a really off the topic thing. I mean, it's on the topic, but not really a important thing. But the coolest part of The Cry of Man, the Wham City soap opera the last couple of weeks, was that And it's sort of a little hard to go back and watch. I don't think I'm going to spoil it. I don't think anyone's really going to watch it. That I'm going to spoil it for them. But Robbie Ratcliffe, one of the main actors who probably wrote most of this because it's sort of his style. He had a bunch of almost QuickTime events with the audience where he would quiz them on stuff. And then you'd remember stuff from past episodes, and it was really cryptic, Lovecraftian stuff that he was saying. They had to remember, and in the one episode he said 3 names from Lovecraft stories, and there was this awesome scene where one of the other protagonists, Robbie Ratcliffe plays one of the bad guys, so one of the good protagonists is trying to leave the house, and he doesn't want him to leave. So there's the super dramatic, almost Final Fantasy boss music playing in the background, and it's the music's building. And there was a confrontation, and then the phone rings, and it's one of the audience callers, and Robbie Ratcliffe picks up the phone and he says, "Say the names," and the guy says the wrong fucking names, and then Robbie Ratcliffe says, those are the wrong names, and hangs up the phone and then stabs the other character. And the chat freaked out like, "Oh my God, you killed Juglet. You're an idiot. These are the names." And everyone writes the names. They're like, "Don't you remember the names?"
So speaking of writing, before I took my trip or reading, before I took my trip to Denver,
Yeah.
I downloaded on my Kindle Murder on the Orient Express. Agatha Christie's like a great writer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to read it. And then I started listening to podcasts. I was watching Netflix on the plane and everything. So I totally forgot to do it. And I wanted to try it. And I started like the first chapter. And then a friend of mine goes, because I want to see it. I just keep calling it. The movie's going to come out. And I just keep calling it the Train movie.
Yeah.
And my friend, she goes, why don't you just watch the Train movie? Then read it, because I feel like if you read it first, you're like, that didn't happen. That's stupid. And I was like,
one of those
yeah,
people.
I was like, yeah, you're right. So now I gotta wait till Friday, because I'm gonna go see it Friday, and then it's probably be on DVD by the time this is posted. But so I'm gonna watch the Train movie.
Bargain rack.
We are getting caught up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the Train movie. And then I'm going to read the book, because she's a great writer.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to read it.
Yeah. Oh, so the thing all that was leading up to before, because we've gotten sidetracked a bunch of times.
So Samuel Adams is right here and there.
So one of the times I want to talk about was like my love of like analysis of things. And JD sort of talked about this earlier with like the jiu-jitsu stuff, how like I guess in depth they get with stuff. And I think it really just like goes from like sports. So I thought it was weird. I was thinking about all this yesterday, because yesterday was, again, for time wise, since we're a few weeks behind, yesterday the Eagles played the Broncos.
All right.
It was that Sunday, like week 9?
The Eagles.
Week 9?
The Eagles. No, it's week 10.
Okay.
No,
it was
next
week 9. Yeah.
Sorry, next week is week 10, because the Eagles are on a bye. The Eagles have been so dominant that this week I think is like the middle of the third quarter, and last week it was the fourth quarter. They took out Carson Wentz and just put in the second string Nick Foles, who's good enough to be a first string, but they put in the back. They're putting in backups so their main guys don't get hurt.
Yeah,
that's how dominant they are. Oh, keep going with your analysis.
So week 9 of the NFL season. So I watched the game over Kelly's parents' house. I think it's really strange, because I was at Comcast since whenever it's been around, and so watching the Phillies and the Flyers and the Eagles and stuff, I always watch the Comcast postgame show afterwards, and for me that's like one of the highlights, to get to and again it's almost like a community thing, because you get comments from people, you're seeing the same people doing the analysis every day.
They have they have the Twitter feed on the bottom, so
Yeah.
you see what other people are saying.
Yeah. So it's like kind of that same idea. But especially the Eagles, because the Eagles post game show goes on for like a couple hours after the game. So you get and it's split up between guys that are more that were former players but are more like what the average fan's thinking, to they have a Hall of Fame sports writer on there who's a super intelligent guy. So you get this great mix of an in-depth analysis of the game. They're able to put into context some of the stuff you just watched, and then you get some of their, reaction and ideas, and you get some fan reaction. And I just think it's a really awesome thing to watch, and it really especially if you watch a 4-hour football game, it sort of wraps it all up and puts it into perspective, and then and then you sort of give you stuff to think about going into the next game. I just think it's a really good experience. But then if you watch it over the game over somebody's house who doesn't have Comcast, they've never seen it, and that just blows my mind. My experience of Eagles football is so much different than some other people's who watch it and then just flip to the next game. I never did that. I would watch it and then watch 2 hours of post game coverage. And I think that analysis now, and it's funny, I think that analysis now is what I like on YouTube. Like Nick Nocturnal Nightmind is in-depth analysis of other shit on YouTube.
Something about analysis. I was watching Thursday Night Football, and Tony Romo is the broadcaster and some people, and I think they're wrong because their opinion is invalid at this point. Some people are like, Tony Romo is a terrible broadcaster, and he doesn't have he's not as good as a lot of broadcasters because
He's not as good as Troy Aikman, who was an excellent broadcaster.
Troy Aikman is the fucking worst. He doesn't have like the charisma or the experience to do it. Like he can't transition to talk about something else. But the way he breaks down every play,
Yeah.
I love it. He analyzes every play. He'll like whatever, like there'll be a play and he'll explain like what the quarterback's like. He'll explain what he thinks going through the quarterback mind, like what he's doing and what he should be doing at
That's
that
pretty
play.
cool.
And I'm like, I kind of like that, where the other guy is the character.
Yeah.
And he is the guy explaining. He's breaking down every play. Like he's like right there, number 97. He should be blocking to the left, but he's blocking straight on. So if he blocked to the left, the defensive end couldn't come around the corner like that. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. He doesn't make silly jokes about stuff or talk about the butt fumble back in 2007 or any of that bullshit. He analyzes every player for like the bigger plays, and I like that. And people were like, "No, he's stupid." And it's like, no, he has a great football mind.
So if he covered an Eagles game, would they force him to talk about cheesesteaks and the Rocky statue at least once?
He did not. He did cover an Eagles game.
Yeah.
He was awesome because he talked about Carson Wentz and about how much he loved Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And then he didn't mention it, and then like the guy he's with, like I forget who he's with. But he's like, it's like the cheesesteaks, and like they show the Rocky statue. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys, get over it.
Yeah.
We get it. There's cheesesteaks. There's a Rocky statue. They play the song. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Eagles scored so many touchdowns on Sunday.
Yeah.
They ran out of fireworks to shoot off.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool fact.
Yeah. 51 points.
Wow. Yeah. That was a crazy game. Yeah. I don't know. That just made me think of. I forget the train of thought I had when you were talking about all that stuff.
Cheesesteaks.
Yeah, no, that's what threw me off with it. Was the cheesesteaks. I just have a very clear picture in my head of the cheesesteaks they showed yesterday on the fucking Eagles game.
Yeah. And the cheesesteaks they show, they're not even the best cheesesteaks.
They usually show Jim's cheesesteaks, which I do like.
On South Street?
Yeah.
Trash.
I disagree.
They chop it up way too much. It's mincemeat. You might as well have just fucking hamburger taco meat at that point.
I like Jim's steaks. I really like Oregon steaks now.
Oregon steak's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't like chopped up. I need like bigger pieces of meat.
So it depends. If it's good, you can screw up bigger pieces. You can make them like stringy.
Yeah, but I don't like the taco meat that they have at Jim's Steak. Taco meat's the worst. But Campos at the stadium,
I like Campos too.
Campos is delicious. Campos is one of the best steaks I've had.
There's really none of them I don't like. So
Jim's is kind of trash. I also like and this is Steve's Prince of Steaks up in Northeast Philly.
I've only been there like once.
They don't chop up the meat at all, which is delicious to me.
See, I like I think for Jim's for me because the closest place to me was always Jim's on the Boulevard, which makes it the same exact way as the South Street one. So I remember going there a lot as when I was a kid and stuff. So
the good thing about Jim's is though they cut the steak right there in front of you on the slicer.
Yeah.
But they chop it up too much.
Yeah, but they put so much cheese in that it all binds it together. They bind it together with cheese.
Yeah. Greasy, cheesy steak is the best kind of steak. Like some people they're like, I don't like a greasy cheesesteak. Greasy cheesesteak is the best kind of cheesesteak.
Dude, my I had a list of things I want to talk about on the podcast, and it somehow went away.
Right. Geno's and Pat's Tourist Trap.
Oh yeah, they are
good, but Tourist Trap they've gone down in quality.
Yeah, I mean I'll eat there, but yeah, it's not like the best.
I mean the best part about Jim's or Geno's or Pat's and Geno's.
Yeah.
There's like a pretty good bar across the street.
Oh yeah, what was that place?
That's Garage.
But
the Garage in Fishtown is terrible because of all the hipsters.
Yeah, that was the place that had the was it $15 ramen noodles or something?
Yeah, the ramen noodles are $15 because they have to serve food, but
they don't ever want to sell them.
Yeah, but they allow food to be brought in.
Mm. Yeah, but yeah, my whole topic list went away. I suddenly refreshed to a previous topic list. So it's about your graduation, I think.
The previous.
Yeah.
What am I graduating from?
Well, the silence behind me.
So, yeah, so the Eagles are doing good. If the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl, how bad do you think Philadelphia will be destroyed?
I think it'll be like the Phillies parade.
But
Oh.
way worse.
I think so. I mean, everyone was watching the Phillies by the time by through that playoff.
But the
series.
Phillies have won World Series.
I mean, not really.
80.
They hadn't. I'm 33. They hadn't won in my lifetime by the time they
No,
won.
80 and like 93.
They didn't win in '93.
Yeah, didn't they?
No.
Ah,
They
what?
lost. Joe Carter hit a Game 7 walk-off home run. It's one of the most iconic moments in World Series history.
I'm gonna
against
look.
Mitch
I'm gonna
Williams.
look it up. Pete Rose, by the way, should definitely be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yeah.
He has like
yeah.
4,600 hits.
Yeah, and he didn't. I mean, he didn't do anything worse than anybody else did. Honestly, there's a lot of guys that probably will be in the Hall of Fame that did worse things than him. I mean, I guess you were. I guess you were 4 at the time, so I mean, you wouldn't know. But I was like, was I 9 at the time?
You're not 6 years older than me, are you? I'm 29. How old are you?
When were you born?
88.
Oh, you're 88.
Right.
Yeah, I was 84. So I'm 4 years.
Oh, okay.
So I was 7 at the time. I was 7. And you would have been you'd have been 5. That doesn't fucking work.
4 years. That's 2.
No, 6 plus 3. I was 9. I was 9 at the time. I was in fact 9.
All right.
And you were 5.
All right. Oh, no. You're right. 1980 and 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. But the Eagles have never won anything.
But the Phillies have been around since 1883. The Eagles haven't been around that long.
Yeah, but how long has the World Series been around?
Probably since the 1890s maybe. So it's different though because the Super Bowl's only been around since what 1960. I mean the Eagles have won world championships.
1961. They won the year before the Super Bowl started.
So the Eagles have won multiple world championships. The Phillies have only ever won a championship twice now.
Twice, yeah.
And that's in 140 years now.
All right. No, well, 83. My brother's 34. 134 years.
Yeah, 134 years.
Yeah.
They won twice. That's terrible. And there used to only be like how many teams were in there when the early major leagues? So they only had to compete against what, like 8 or 10 other teams?
Yeah, and it was regional as well.
Yeah.
It was like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, Philadelphia, probably some Washington team or something.
Those New York baseball giants. I love when announcers still say that. I mean, there haven't been baseball and football giants for like 50 years, but I still like when people say like, "Oh, those New York football giants."
The Dodgers were in New York, right?
Yeah, well, they were in New York and so were the Giants.
Yeah.
That's why it's the football Giants.
Yeah. Do you know why they were called the Dodgers? And I heard this from a teacher, because back in the day you always had to you had to dodge buses and taxis in New York.
Huh.
So New York, everyone was a Dodger.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so would you want to do a mini book club on the next few podcasts? Let's look at me actually read something.
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Do some Lovecraft stories.
There's one story, and I'm gonna find it for us.
Yeah.
And I went to a used book. I went to like 8 used bookstores. Can't find the book, but I found a PDF file of it online. But I couldn't download it at work, so I got to download it on this laptop, email it to my work email, and then print it out because it's like 30 pages.
Yeah.
So we'll do that story. It'll be a surprise for everyone.
We should do the Call of Cthulhu next week because you read it. I've started to read it.
Yeah, and then I'll read it again and like highlight stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do the Call of Cthulhu. So that's my pick for next week, and then you do a pick for the following week, and we'll alternate.
So
It'll be real educational.
All right. FYI,
Yeah.
guess when the World Series started?
Well.
20 years after the Phillies.
Yeah.
So in
114 years.
14 years, they won 2.
Yeah.
That's one every 57 years. That's still pretty good.
Yeah, I guess. So like essentially one per lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody gets one.
I mean, anyone that was in the first 100 years of the Phillies didn't get any. But
Right. What are you gonna do?
it's really interesting to look back at like old statistics, because I mean they had some seasons where they only won 20 or 30 games. Like they like the 20s into the like the 20s and the 30s, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they had many years in a row where they were like 50, 60 games under 500, like just ridiculous statistics. Like it's amazing how bad they were. Oh, well, there was the thing right before, like, it was like 2 or 3 years before the Phillies got good last time. People started paying attention that they had they had their 10,000th loss.
Oh, right. I remember.
Yeah, they were
Preston and Steve dropped 10,000 marbles down the stairs.
they were the first professional sports team in the world to reach 10,000 losses in any sport anywhere in the world.
That is amazing.
Right here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
By right here, I mean over the bridge because
So the
our
original
studio's not in Philadelphia.
The original NL was the Chicago White Stockings,
Yeah.
now the Chicago Cubs, not to be confused with the current Chicago White Sox of the American League.
Socks are very different than stockings.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Athletics,
Mhm.
Boston Red Stockings, Hartford Dark Blues,
Mm.
folded after 1877, Mutual of New York, expelled,
Huh.
St. Louis Brown Stockings, folded, Cincinnati Red Stockings, a new franchise expelled after 1880, and the Louisville Grays.
Well, what year was that?
1800s.
Okay, because I think by 1883 the Phillies had the Phillies name. I think they were the Quakers or something for
The
initially.
National League formation meant that the end of the NA, which is the original, its
Mhm.
remaining clubs shut down and reverted to amateur or minor status. The only strong club from 1875, excluded in 1876, was a second one in Philadelphia, often called the White Stockings or Phillies.
Yeah. You know who won a shit ton of championships in Philadelphia?
Who?
The Athletics.
Yeah.
The team that we got rid of. They were perennial winners.
You know who has a bunch of championships?
Who's that?
Philadelphia Soul. They
Yeah.
won like 2 in a row.
Did I ever tell you my arena football experience? Why I can't get into arena football?
Why?
So I went. So I was like a kid when they first started, and I went with my family, and so like one of the first Soul games, and it was like a little weird, because it's such a big football town here. So like people were like didn't know how to take it, people were there, but they were there with their families too. But it was like some guys that were clearly football fans, and they were like, and like people were like on the fence all game, like how much to get into it. And then it was like the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, which is part of my problem with arena football. Like arena football to me is like basketball. Like you don't have to watch the first 95% of the game. You just watch the last 3 minutes, and that's all that matters.
Right.
Because it's just back and forth until then. But so it was like the last like minute of the game, and they're playing like inspirational music, and like the crowd's like finally getting into it. We're finally like, oh, this feels like football. Like this is cool. And there's like big fat guys like with their shirts off and shit, and like people are like starting to get into it. And then they played the SpongeBob SquarePants song. And it was just the stupidest thing because, like, I mean, first off, at this moment of the game, like when it's real and people are really into it, you just kill the mood. And second off, like, so like, what do you want? So like, you just send a clear message to everyone, like, nah, this isn't a real sport. This is like minor league football. Like, just bring your families a couple times a year. The hot dogs are cheap. Like, don't really give a shit about what's on the field.
Right.
Like, that's really the message they send. And I just thought it was like the stupidest thing. I have like a very clear memory of it in my head.
Yeah. But I would just eat hot dogs here before I went to like the Soul game. So all right, I found it.
Oh, and then Bon Jovi's a liar too.
Yeah. Modern times baseball. The Classic 8 lineup for the NL is the Boston Beatniks, later called Boston Braves, then Milwaukee Braves, now Atlanta Braves.
Mhm.
The Brooklyn Super Boss, it's Super BAS, excuse me, called the Boston Braves, Brooklyn Dodgers, now Los Angeles Dodgers. The Chicago Orphans, now the Chicago Cubs.
Why would you even tell the team the Orphans?
I don't know. Cincinnati Reds, New York Giants, now the San Francisco Giants, Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates, St. Louis Cardinals. So from like 1900 to 1952,
Mm.
that was the NL.
That was it. And the Phillies couldn't win a single fucking time.
Right. And then they started expanding in 1953. So for 52 years, the NL was 8 teams.
Yeah. Most of the all-time Phillies greats are from that period, especially the pitchers, because essentially the team was so bad that they had like one good guy on the team, so they had ridiculous statistics. Like Grover Cleveland Alexander, I think he has seasons where he pitches like half the games and has like 50 wins, and that's like that's all their wins for the season.
Yeah. So we're learning baseball history on tonight's podcast.
My numbers are made up, but like you get the gist of it.
Right.
He pitched a lot of games.
Yeah. So that's now that I think about it, that's very embarrassing for the Phillies to be around since 1883 or modern times 1900 to 1953 and never. You only had to beat 7 other teams.
Yeah.
To get into the World Series.
Like just by chance, like some of the time you think it would have worked out. I don't know.
I'm not going to look up the AL, but I assume it was 8 other teams.
Yeah. Well, and then I don't know, and then I mean, even like now it's embarrassing because you had this great core of guys like just in the last 10 years who, and like you had, fans spent all this money and poured it in the stadiums and, and gave you the resources to put a winner on the field and they just squandered it.
Right.
It's just really frustrating because you see teams like Boston and like New York who, I mean, every once in a while will have like a down year. Where either they just miss the playoffs or like, they get knocked out in the first round, but like you expect them to be competitive every year. And there's no reason in a city this big that, that showed you that if you put a winning team on the field, they'll get behind it, that we couldn't have that like we shouldn't be like pretty good every year. I don't know. Like, it's not like we're Florida where like, I don't know, where like 5,000 people show up for the game and like no one gives a shit.
There were 8 teams in the AL. I looked it up.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. The Yankees have 40 titles.
Yeah.
The Giants have 23 titles.
Yeah, probably mostly from that time period.
Right. So they only had to beat. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, just by random chance, like once in that 50 years, there should have been something where like the stars aligned and like everyone played better than expected or something. Although they were in the World Series 2 other times, I think. So 1950 they played the Yankees, and then I think 1918 they were in the World Series,
and 1993.
Yeah.
So it's 3 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in that early time period.
Oh, in the early time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
definitely
super.
1950. I'm not sure about the earlier one.
And the Eagles still have yet to win.
Yeah. Oh, 1983 they were in the World Series.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So they're not too bad.
The 1950s team featured a young Richie Ashburn.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which they have a wonderful alley
Yes.
filled with food and beer.
Yes.
Where Campos is.
Super crowded.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculously crowded.
Yeah, but, if it starts raining, you can just get whatever you want because no one wants to get wet.
Yeah. That's where it's at.
So
I think the cough medicine and the beer combined, I'm like a little woozy.
not going to be able to drive?
No, I don't know. I'm going to hang out a little bit.
Well, luckily this week we started a little earlier, and so it's still pretty early, and we can hang out. It's not like you're leaving at like 10:30. So
Yeah, Jay's not going to kick me out to go to bed this time.
no.
JD used me for the podcast, and then there's like, I think your Uber's outside.
Yeah. So, what are your other than Sunday? No, not this Sunday. Is it this Sunday for Sam?
Yeah.
Week.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
party.
what are you gonna do Saturday? When is his actual birthday?
His birthday's next Tuesday.
Right. So it's gonna be a Sam party on
Sunday. Saturday is actually Hayden's party. So,
okay.
Which kind of irks me because their birthday's this week, and she like steals like I think Saturday's the better party day, and she like steals like the better party day on Sam's birthday weekend every year.
Well, I mean, you gotta realize that they don't care about you.
Yeah, well,
they're
sure.
they're first.
Yeah.
You know, which is every parent. Every parent, their kids first.
Yeah.
So. But whatever. It's Sunday's pretty good.
Yeah, it'll be cool because Sam will enjoy that party on Saturday too.
It's a bye
so.
week, so who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think I said before about how Kelly's family has parties right before the Eagles game starts every week. So, I should point that out to everyone. This is a bye week. I was considerate.
Yeah.
I was considerate when I made Sam.
Yeah. So the girl that I'm seeing, she'll text me during Eagles game, which is fine because I'll just I'll text back. It's no big deal. But I told her like this week's a bye week, so I whatever happens happens.
You can bring her on Sunday.
But the week I'll ask her. But the
Yeah.
week after that
Yeah.
is the first Eagles Dallas game, week 11.
Oh yeah, she's
And I told her, I was like, "Oh no, you text me. I'm throwing my phone in the toilet.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no reason I should respond to anybody but like my buddy who lives in Colorado."
yeah.
Oh, by the way, he lives in Colorado. He was in a Broncos bar. Like
Yeah.
he lives by like a Broncos bar. And
He was beat
wearing,
up this
yeah,
week.
he was wearing his Eagles hat, and Eagles jersey,
Yeah.
and people were like it was like a South Park day. Like you just hear
We don't take kindly to your typing
Yeah.
here.
No, he was like, I think I'm going to be stabbed. And like they're usually nice people, but if you're at the home team and you're wearing like the team they're not home team, but like the home team,
Yeah.
and you're wearing like the team they're playing, and like here, if people were wearing like next week, if people were wearing Dallas jerseys at the bar,
I think there's a difference though. I think if you're an Eagles fan abroad, I think you I think the thing with Dallas fans that always irked people was, if you were from Dallas,
Right.
if you came up here with a big Texas accent and you had your Dallas stuff on, I don't think anyone would have a problem with you.
right,
But if you're from like Northeast Philly and you're a Dallas fan,
you're an asshole.
yeah, exactly. There's no reason for it. You just have some sort of mental disability that like just makes you such a miserable fucking person
Right.
that like your only joy in life is like pissing other people off.
Speaking, I just said the word asshole. Hilarious story from work. I got in trouble at work for something I didn't do, and then in confidence, I told the HR lady that because of this, I feel like an asshole. And then the next day, she calls me back. Well, if you could use that word so loosely with me, then I believe you did it. And I was like, no, I'm supposed to. Well, you can't use that against me. I'm supposed to speak it in confidence.
Yeah.
And then, so this week we're going over benefits. So she flies out from California to like go over benefits with
Yeah.
us. And then she's like, I'll be in the kitchen or the lunchroom.
Yeah.
So she's in the lunchroom and she knows who I am.
Hmm.
We've spoken a couple times, but because of all this thing, I walk in and she goes, hey. And I was like, have we spoken before?
Yeah.
And she, like I thought she was gonna laugh,
Yeah.
but she had the most miserable look on her
Oh,
face
no.
whatsoever. And I was like, oh, you don't have much of a sense of humor. do you?" and then she got up, she like closed her laptop, took that and like books and went to like a different room. And
That's
I was
fucked
like,
up.
and I was-
You're screwed. You just look for a new job. Don't worry about it.
oh no, I'm looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and I told like I don't know, maybe she's just a miserable person. And like
Yeah.
I was just trying to lighten the mood, like I didn't say anything. I was like, have we spoken before? And she's like and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're screwed now.
Luckily we have like 6 HR people because, we have like my company has 42,000 employees and then
Mhm.
like my business unit has like 3,600. So we have a ton of HR people. It's just the one that I had to deal with was also the one I had to fly out
Yeah. That you just insulted. I mean, you might as well whipped your D out at that point. I mean, it was all
Is
over.
that insulting?
I don't think so. But
Yeah,
appa-
but-
apparently she didn't like it.
Yeah, but like anybody else would have like laughed. Like
Yeah.
if you were that HR person and I went up like we
Yeah.
just like got off the phone like 2 days in a row
Yeah.
and like the previous week and I was like, have we spoken before? And like, come on, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just miserable.
Maybe.
But she'll never listen to this podcast, so
Yeah. It's
you
fine.
know, so it's fine. So
I think we're about done here.
yeah, so that's this week's whole week Costa. I'll let you guys go. You can listen. You can keep listening if you want, but it's not